Goggles and aprons must be worn at all times, even over prescription eyeglasses. Gloves and aprons must be worn by surgeons and assistant surgeons only. Long hair must be tied back. And now I'm going to show you how to fold an apron after you're done. So you take your apron and you place it on the table, and then you fold this part so it forms a square, and then you put these tags inside. You fold this to the middle, and there's another fold, and you would just fold it in half, and voila. And this is a neat way to fold the apron. Voila.
All right, so we're going to take a little look at how to put gloves on, how to take them off, and kind of proper procedure around gloves. It's not too complicated, but there are a few things that you want to watch out for. The first thing is you want to make sure that you have gloves that fit. If you wear gloves that are too loose, when you're trying to fine-tune your way around the dissection, the gloves are going to get in your way. Similarly, if you put on gloves that are too tight, you're going to rip them. Use the right size gloves. On the boxes of gloves, there is a diagram that you can generally match to your hand. It's always a good idea if you have jewelry on your fingers, you want to take that off. The sad part for us is there are just simply not enough gloves to go around. If you're a researcher and you're doing primarily work around the textbook, or if you're the photographer, then the reality is you don't need gloves that day. Reserve the gloves for the surgeon and the assistant surgeon. Putting on gloves is the easy part. For reasons that I'm going to show you in a minute, when you put them on, make like a little cuff, like a little fold for just a ½ inch or so. And I'm going to show you in a minute why that's the case. So let's assume it's the end of the period. Gloves are sort of full of pig crud. It's kind of messy. If you go up to a friend and you do this and you start stretching it, then there's a couple things that are going to happen. One is you're going to snap pig crud. It's kind of messy. All over your book or yourself or your friend. And then you will be unpopular. The second thing is you may rip the glove in the process. Keep in mind that the gloves are to contain the crud. The cleanup is to contain the debris. Here's what you do, and this is why you had that little fold. You reach with one hand under the fold, you peel the glove off inside out.
Where's all the stuff?
It's inside. And then you take the other one, you peel it off around the other glove. Now look what's happened. Your hands are clean, there's no mess. This goes right in the garbage. You're good to go.
Throughout the dissection, you're going to be using a dissection kit. The dissection kit includes 4 tools. The first tool is called a forceps. You may know this as a pair of tweezers, and they're good for grabbing things, holding onto them and pulling them, chipping away parts of bone or things that need a little bit more force. When you're done with these, you place them in this widest part, like that, of the kit. Next to that, you'll see the scissors. They are placed over these 2 knobs to hold them in place. These are used for cutting through things like soft bone. It's not meant for cutting through skin. Skin is cut with a scalpel. The narrow slots in the dissection kit are for 2 tools, the scalpel and the probe. The scalpel has a very sharp, small blade on it. It's intended to cut through flesh. That means that it could cut your flesh or someone else's. We're going to be extremely careful with how we handle the scalpels. When you're not using the scalpel, if it's clean, it can go inside the dissection kit. Notice that there are these 2 depressions here. This is where you're expected to put your fingers in. You want to make sure that the handle is where these depressions are, so that when people reach for the tools, that they will reach for the handle. You also want to make sure that the scalpel is always blade down. You don't want to give any chance that that sharp part of the blade is going to hit somebody's fingers. Blade down, handle in the depression. When you're using the scalpel, use it only while you are cutting. Do not get in the habit of holding your scalpel, waving it, pointing with it, walking around the room with it. None of that. When you're done, you put the scalpel down with the sharp blade towards the tray, not pointing outward where somebody might grab it. When you are using the scalpel, you do want to use it correctly. These are straight blades, not serrated blade. A serrated blade is what you find on a saw that goes up and down. That's meant to saw back and forth. This is a straight blade, so you cut in one direction. If you want to cut firmly, you put your index finger on top like this. You make firm, straight cuts. If it's more comfortable for you, you can hold it more like a pencil and make more delicate cuts. When it's all clean, you place it back in the dissection kit, handle in the opening. Final safety tip, make sure that you're never, ever cutting towards anyone's finger, including your own. Don't have your hand in any position where the scalpel is going towards it, and make sure that the assistant surgeon does not have their hand in that position. It's a good idea to have the assistant surgeon standing on the opposite side of the table, and it's always good to cut in a controlled manner towards yourself. The last tool, and the one you'll be using the most, is called the probe. Notice the probe has a relatively soft point similar to a pencil tip. This is what you would use when you want to point, move something, hold something, anything that doesn't require a sharp tip. This is the one that you want to have in your hand most of the time, not the scalpel. When you're done with this item, again, put it handle in the depression and put it away. Please make sure that all the tools are clean and dry before you place them in the dissection kit. You don't want to have standing water in your dissection kit. So don't put dirty tools or wet tools back in your kit. Oh, I forgot one safety tip about the scalpel. Sometimes the sharp blade breaks off when you're cutting. If that happens, don't panic.
Don't panic.
Just call a teacher over. The teacher will remove the blade from the pig and put a new blade on the scalpel for you. That's it. Be careful
Be careful.
and enjoy the dissection.
All right.
All right.
At the end of every day, you're going to be cleaning up your station, your pig, and everything else. For cleanup procedures, a couple things. One, when you're doing the dissection, it's always important that the bag that your pig came in is sealed and left in the sink for the entirety of the dissection. We don't want any of this juice to sort of spill out anywhere. Best idea to leave it in the sink and seal it. But at the end of the day, when you're done dissecting, you're going to be cleaning up. And what you want to do is a couple things. One, you may need to use a wetting solution on your pig. This is called CaroSafe. It helps preserve the pig and keep it moist so that it keeps its look throughout the dissection. Now, it's important not to confuse the CaroSafe with the simple green, which is the cleaning solution. Notice here that I have CaroSafe gray bottle, and it says CaroSafe on it. This is what you use to clean the tables and the dissection kits. It's a green. The CaroSafe, it may be in a bottle like this, also might be in a clear bottle. Notice that it's a clear color. The difference between the cleaning solution and the CaroSafe is their color. But once you've got your pig wet and ready to pack away, take your bag, you open it up, you do this over the sink. Take your pig, let it drip a little bit, slide it into the bag. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press all the air out of the bag. So I'm gonna push as much air out as possible, seal it, and I'm gonna bring this and return it to the bucket. Lastly, before you're done, what you wanna make sure you do, remove anything from your sink. This sink is your group's responsibility. It shouldn't be dirty when you leave, it should look in the same condition you got when you got there. Look inside, I'm gonna see is there any trash like paper towels? Is the sink draining right? If it isn't, unclog it, wipe up the area around it so there's not any sort of pig juice or
Pig crud.
or water or anything around it. Anything that you need to throw away, whether it's paper towels or even parts from the pig, need to be thrown away in the big gray trash can.
Pretty woman, walking down the street. Pretty woman, the kind I like to meet. Pretty woman.
So anything that I need to throw away, I throw away right there. So that's sort of the first part of cleaning up your pig.
All right, let's talk some more about the cleanup process. You want to make sure when you are done dissecting that you clean your tools and you dry them properly. What I mean by that is make sure that you're rinsing them off. Now this scalpel here doesn't have a blade on it. If it did, you want to make sure that you're not cleaning it off like this. You may end up cutting yourself. What you want to do is just rinse it off. With a lot of these tools, you can rinse them off. When you put it back, make sure you're putting it back in the proper locations. You want to make sure you dry everything, have a paper towel out, put all of your tools that you've used on that piece of paper towel, just dab it, dry it. Lastly, make sure that you leave the lid open when you walk away. When I'm done, I don't want to then take my backpack and put my backpack on.
They see me rolling.
Make sure everything in my area is cleaned up. I want to make sure all the sinks are clean. I also want to make sure that I use some soap to wash my hands with. I make sure that the entire area is clean, make sure my partners are ready to go, and I can put my backpack on and go.